Hello, and welcome to the Night Sky Reader. I'm here with a story to help you relax, meditate, or gently drift to sleep. Tonight, Courtyard of Constellation blocks. Settle in, close your eyes if you'd like, and let's begin. The first sound is not a voice, but a wooden block set down gently, aligned under a slice of moonlight like a small, deliberate star chart. You hear the soft thunk of seasoned teak meeting the worn table edge, a sound that holds the courtyard still for a moment. The table is low, its surface smoothed by generations of hands pressing cloth and carving blocks, and it still holds the day's warmth, a faint heat that rises through your palms when you rest them there. Moonlight fills the carved grooves of the block, tracing the geometry in pale silver. You trace it too, with your eyes first, following the lines that repeat and intersect, a pattern you'll soon press into cloth. The air is cool now, the harshness of afternoon dissolved into something softer, and the courtyard breathes around you. A stone basin sits in the corner, water settling from the day's use. The artisan moves at the edge of your vision, not speaking, placing a shallow tray beside the block. The gesture is enough. Tonight's work is one full mud-resist cycle. The cloth will show every moment of impatience, and so will your breathing. You carried tension here tonight, the tight coil of it between your shoulder blades, a habit of rushing, the scattered static of a mind that won't settle. But the courtyard asks for something different, and your hands are listening. Water in the basin is cool when you dip your hands in. Surprisingly so. You bring it to your face, then let it run down your forearms. It smells of stone and the faint memory of indigo from previous rinses. The cotton cloth hanging nearby is already soft from many washes. The fibers catch against your skin lightly, a sensation that asks you to notice texture instead of time. The shallow tray holds mud-resist paste the color of riverbed clay after rain, a gray-brown that seems to drink the moonlight rather than reflect it. One finger touches the surface, expecting something liquid, and finds it cool and dense as river stone. The paste holds the shape of your fingertip for a moment, a small crater that slowly fills in from the edges, erasing itself. The artisan nods, watching with hands that carry permanent indigo stains in the creases of the knuckles, dark as ink in candlelight. A flat wooden spatula stirs the paste slowly, feeling the weight of it, the way the paste resists and then gives, moving in a thick, smooth ribbon that folds over itself. It smells of earth and minerals, a clean, damp smell that belongs to the ground after dark. A splash of water from a nearby bowl, and the paste loosens slightly, still thick but more fluid, like heavy cream. Testing it against the side of the tray, watching how it slides down, leaving a faint trail that holds its shape for a second before settling. Too thick, and it will drag on the cloth. Too thin, and it won't resist the indigo later. The balance is in your wrist, in the slow swirl of the spatula, in paying attention to how the texture changes, not thinking about finishing anymore. Just the drag of the paste against wood, the way the surface tension holds a moment before breaking. The cloth spreads on the table now, a length of cotton that still carries the day's warmth in its center but cools at the edges. Both hands smooth it flat, palms sliding across the weave, feeling for wrinkles. The fabric is taut but not stretched, held in place by the table's own worn grooves. A small corner tested with the paste, using a brush made from goat hair, soft and springy. The paste moves across the fibers, catching slightly, then smoothing. Watch it soak in just enough to coat, not enough to bleed through. The artisan steps closer, places a carved block in your hand. The wood is oiled from years of use, the edges softened, the grain visible in the moonlight like a map of rivers. Your thumb runs over the carved surface, feeling the depth of the lines, the sharpness still present in the valleys. It smells faintly of oil and the ghost of indigo from past dips. Press the block into the paste, a light rocking motion, coating the raised surfaces evenly. The paste clings to the wood, filling the carved lines, hiding them. Align the block over the cloth, using the moonlight on the table edge as a guide. The first placement is always a guess, an approximation. Press down with the heels of your hands, feeling the firmness of the block, the slight give of the cloth beneath. Hold the pressure steady, counting a slow breath, then lift straight up. The paste has left its mark, a mirror of the carved design, crisp in some places, slightly blurred in others where the pressure was uneven. Notice without judgment. The next one will be better. The print repeats, moving down the cloth in a measured rhythm. Each time the block presses into the paste, each time it aligns by feel and by sight, each time it presses down and lifts. The sound of the block setting down becomes a soft punctuation, a gentle thunk that marks progress without urgency. Moonlight shifts across the table edge, a slow slide of silver that tells you time is passing but not how quickly. Check the sky instead of a clock, looking for the cluster of stars you noticed earlier. It has moved, but only a little. A print sits slightly crooked. The moonlight shows it a hair's width off from the pattern. Pause, let hands settle, then press the next one with a whisper of correction, nudging the block a fraction to the left. The pattern lines up. The small variation becomes part of the rhythm, not a break in it. Breathing has slowed, matching the press and lift, the small adjustments, the steady repetition. No longer monitoring, simply printing. When the cloth is covered, the last block is lifted and set aside. The artisan helps move the fabric to the drying line, strung low between two stone columns. Lift it together, feeling the weight of it, the dampness cool against your arms. The paste adds a subtle heaviness, a coating that changes how the cotton drapes. Pin it carefully, leaving space for air to move between the folds. The first drops fall immediately, a soft patter on the stone below, like the start of rain that never becomes a storm, then slower, then stopping. Step back and watch the resist change. It loses its glossy wet sheen and becomes matte, a dull earth color that sits on the surface of the cloth. The paste setting, binding to the fibers, preparing to resist the indigo that will come later. The courtyard settles into the waiting. A low stone ledge offers a seat, its coolness seeping through your clothes. The stone is smooth, worn concave by other bodies in other nights. Hands rest in your lap, empty now. Small things become noticeable. Palms still holding the faint coolness of the paste, a dampness at your wrists where water from the basin soaked in, the slight ache in your thumbs from steady pressure. These are not discomforts, they are simply true. The cloth hangs quietly, no longer dripping, no longer moving, just drying in air that tastes of stone dust and night jasmine somewhere beyond the courtyard walls. The surface of the paste loses its shine inch by inch, the transformation so gradual you can't see it happen, only notice that it has happened when you look again. Time measured not in minutes but in degrees of dryness, in the almost imperceptible shift from wet to set. Water in the basin finds its level, a perfect stillness that holds the reflection of the moon. A night insect calls, a single sustained note that hangs and then dissolves into silence. Breathe. The air fills your lungs, cool and clean, and you let it go, again. The rhythm of it matches nothing but itself. Shoulders have dropped without you noticing. The tension you carried into the courtyard has somewhere to go now, into the waiting, into the slow change happening in the cloth. Look up and find the constellation you've been using as a clock. It has drifted, the stars in a slightly different configuration, but the drift is slow, predictable, calm. Trace the pattern with your eyes, connecting points of light the way you connected points of paste on the cloth. The sky is doing its work. The resist is doing its work. You are simply here, present to both. When you stand and approach the cloth again, touching it lightly with the back of one hand, the resist is fully set, drier on the surface, the paste firm but not brittle. It has become part of the fabric now, bonded, ready. Unpin it carefully, feeling how the weight has changed again, lighter than when wet but denser than bare cloth. Carry it to the rinsing basin, a wide stone vessel set into the ground, fed by a tap that runs deep and cold. Lower the cloth in. It becomes heavier immediately, sodden, and the coolness travels up your forearms as you submerge it fully. Swirl it gently, pressing it against the smooth stone sides of the basin. Faint earthy clouds bloom from the resist, turning the water milky for a moment, swirling in lazy spirals before they thin and disperse. The transformation is beautiful in a way you hadn't expected, these small galaxies of sediment released into clear water. Lift the cloth. Let the water run off. The stream darkens from brown to gray to almost clear, a visible record of the resist washing away where it hasn't bonded, staying where it has. Lower the cloth again, rinse again, watching the water. This time the clouds are fainter, the color gentler. Again, the water runs clearer still. Not counting rinses, watching the water tell you when it's done. When you finally lift the cloth and the water runs nearly transparent, only the faintest whisper of color left, the rinsing is complete. The fabric is heavy with water now, saturated. Squeeze gently, pressing from the center outward, letting the basin catch what falls. Don't twist, which would disturb the paste. Simply encourage the water to leave, fold by fold, section by section. The cloth changes weight as it drains, from heavy as wet sand to something lighter, manageable. Spread it on the table again, smoothing it flat with both hands, feeling the coolness of it against the wood. The protected areas where the resist sits are slightly raised, a texture you can read with your fingers like braille. The pattern is there, waiting to be completed. The moon has moved. Its light now falls on a different part of the table, illuminating the far edge where shadow was before. The artisan brings the block again, or perhaps a different one carved with a complementary part of the design. You can't tell in this light, and it doesn't matter. Feel the weight of it, the same oiled wood, the same softened edges that fit your palms like they were made for them. This is the reprint pass, the step that builds complexity, that requires you to align with the existing marks like matching constellations to their mirror images. Find the registration points by touch first, small pinholes in the corners of the block that the artisan shows you with a tap of a fingernail, their nail worn blunt and smooth from years of this same gesture. Tiny enough to miss unless you're truly present. Align the block using the edge of the first motif as a guide, matching points like stars in a map. The wet cloth makes this more delicate. The paste must press through slight dampness, must find the fibers beneath the surface water. Adjust your pressure, lighter than before, trusting the weight of the block itself to do some of the work. The first reprint is a test, a question asked of the cloth and the pattern. Press down, hold for a breath longer than last time, lift. The new layer lines up perfectly, a clean echo of the first, the design building dimension through repetition. Repeat, moving across the cloth, hands steadier now, less concerned with perfect precision and more focused on steady presence. The block rocks into the paste, lifts out, presses down, lifts again. The rhythm is established, a quiet orbit of press and release, earth and cloth, pattern and air. Another slight misalignment, barely visible, a print that sits a whisper too high. Notice it the way you'd notice a star out of place in a familiar constellation. Pause, adjust the angle of the next block placement by the width of a thread, and press. The pattern corrects itself, flowing back into rhythm. This is not perfection you're after. It's honesty, the willingness to see what's actually there and respond without judgment. The pattern builds, repeat by repeat, a field of geometry that grows under your hands like crop rows or prayer flags, steady and intentional. The moonlight has moved across the courtyard floor now, a silver path that leads from the table to the basin to the drying line, connecting all the stations of this quiet work. Breath has found a rhythm that matches the press and lift, in on the alignment, out on the release, not controlling it, simply noticing it. When the last print is pressed and lifted, set the block down with the same gentle thunk that began the night. The second drying is shorter, the paste already familiar with the cloth. Hang the fabric again, hear the briefest patter of drips, then silence. The matte surface returns quickly this time, the resist setting firm and ready. Feel the difference in your hands when you touch it, the way the cloth holds the pattern now, layered and complete, waiting for the final step. The courtyard feels like it's holding its breath, not in tension but in the fullness that comes just before completion. The sky has continued its slow wheel. Your constellation has moved further, climbing toward its zenith, the same stars in a different position, reliable and unhurried. Follow them with your eyes for a moment, then turn toward the deepest shadow of the courtyard, where the indigo vat waits. The vat is a squat clay vessel, wide-bellied and ancient, its surface dark and still. Approach it slowly, smelling the fermented leaf smell before you reach it, earthy and sharp at once, almost fruity in its complexity. This is the smell of transformation held in suspension, of chemistry waiting to happen. The artisan stands beside the vat, a still presence, and together you lift the cloth from the drying line one last time. Its weight is familiar now, the heft of it, the way it wants to fold in certain places where the resist has stiffened the weave. Lower it slowly into the vat, one edge first, then letting it descend like a sail finding water. The indigo rises around it, swallowing the pattern, swallowing the moonlight, swallowing every mark your hands have made. Hands follow the cloth down, entering the liquid, feeling its coolness climb past your wrists. The indigo wants to hold the cloth down, a gentle insistence, and you let it, submerging the fabric fully. The surface of the vat settles, dark and quiet. Count breaths. 1, 2, 3. The artisan nods, and together you reach in, finding the cloth beneath the surface, lifting. It comes up heavy, streaming indigo, and in the low light it looks greenish-gray, not blue at all. For a moment everything stills. Your hands hold the dripping cloth open between you and the artisan, arms wide, and you search the surface for any sign of blue. Nothing. Just this strange, wrong color, wet and muted as moss. Your breath catches before you can stop it, a small hitch of doubt. But the artisan's hands are steady as stone, and they wait. So you wait too, though every instinct wants to check, to question, to do something. Air touches the surface. Hold the cloth. Feel the weight of it, the dampness, the coolness. And then it begins. Not all at once. Not even in a way you can point to and say there, but somewhere near the edges of the cloth where it is thinnest, a faint shift. The pallid greenish-gray warms by a degree. Then another. The blue doesn't arrive, it blooms. It spreads from the edges inward like tide water claiming sand, a slow claiming that you can only see by not looking directly at it. Watch the center of the cloth and you see nothing. Look away at the stars and back again, and the blue has deepened, again, and deeper still. The transformation moves in degrees so fine they barely exist, and yet they accumulate. The pale powder blue darkens to sky. Sky deepens to dusk. Dusk moves toward midnight. The color is not imposed. It unfolds from within the fabric itself. Oxygen meeting dye, chemistry made visible in the quietest possible way. Your breath has steadied without you noticing. The initial clutch of worry has dissolved into something else. Not relief exactly, but a quiet wonder at watching matter become what it was always going to become. The blue continues to deepen, moving from midnight toward the color of the spaces between stars, a darkness that still holds depth. The resist underneath holds firm, keeping those protected areas light, bone white against the gathering dark. The pattern emerges not as something imposed but as something revealed, the intersection of your hands and time and the patient properties of matter. When the blue has settled into its full tone, a rich darkness that seems to hold some of the night in it, you rinse the cloth once more, lightly, just to set the dye and remove the excess. The water runs blue, then clearer, then almost clear. Lift the cloth from the rinsing basin and lay it flat on the table, spreading it smooth with careful hands. The cotton releases a little steam, warmth from the oxidation meeting night air. Smooth each corner, each fold, letting the cloth rest. The pattern shows fully now, revealed in the contrast of protected white against dipped blue. Every print you pressed, every alignment you made, every small correction and steady repetition, the geometry holds. The repeats flow into one another like the constellations above, separate but connected, individual marks forming a larger whole. Hands are still now, fingertips cool and slightly wrinkled from the water, and you rest them on the edge of the table. Return the wooden block to its place where the night began, aligned under the slice of moonlight. The light has moved, of course. It falls at a different angle now, catches different grooves in the carving, makes different shadows, but the block is the same, and the gesture is the same, and this sameness is part of the completion. Set it down gently. The soft thunk, the courtyard listening. The water in the basin has settled completely still, a dark mirror that holds the moon and doesn't let it go. The stars have climbed. Your constellation is higher now, the same pattern in a new position, still recognizable, still steady. Look from the stars to the cloth, from the cloth to your hands, from your hands back to the stars. The cloth rests on the table, blue and white and quiet, its pattern of intersecting lines now a map you can read, geometry that began as carved wood, became paste and pressure, survived water and waiting, and finally revealed itself in indigo. What started as a star chart pressed into cotton has become one, each white motif a point of light held in deep blue, the whole cloth now a field of constellations you helped bring into being. Your breathing is slow, effortless, the kind of breath that comes when the body has found its own rhythm and doesn't need instruction. Shoulders are loose, hands are empty. The courtyard is quiet enough to hear the last drops of water finding their rest in the basin, a sound so small it's almost silence. The coil between your shoulder blades is gone, the scattered static, gone. What remains is this, cloth and stars, and the cool night air, your hands still carrying the memory of wood grain and paste, and the understanding that some things cannot be rushed into being, they can only be weighted into readiness, attended into completion, breathed into existence one patient moment at a time. The night holds you. The stars wheel on. Thank you for spending this time with the Night Sky Reader. May your night be peaceful. Until next time, rest well.